the house, right? We got Babyface in the house today. You're now tuned into $1 million worth of game. Now we gonna hear who could sing better and who would you sign. We gonna get to the point.
Wow, that's hard one.
Now it's hard. Thank you. Come on.
It's hard because like y'all wasn't saying quite. The words weren't right all the way, but
okay,
we're gonna get past that. I'm
talking about all right, well, body language, mannerism, showmanship.
Both of you were very passionate.
Okay,
I'll give you that.
My passion just came off a little different, didn't it?
It came off, yeah. I can't really say. I don't think I would sign either of you at this point.
Yeah,
not yet.
Damn.
I'd probably tell you go back and work on it a little bit more.
Well, could we be background singers?
You know the background singers that can lip sync.
All right, cool. That's cool. But that's cool. Today, listen, man.
Because y'all look passionate. That's the whole point.
The whole thing. It's cool though. It's cool.
It's all about the look.
He said it's all about the look. The look is the hook. But today, we got the legend in here, Babyface. You know what I mean? And it's funny. Let me tell you the story. I thought Babyface Ray was coming when they said Babyface was coming. I get a text from Dante 3:00 in the morning. They say the OG Babyface. I said, damn, I thought Babyface Ray was coming. You know who Babyface Ray is?
Yeah,
Detroit.
Yeah.
But he made it. Shout out to all the babies. He made it possible for you to call yourself Baby.
Yeah, yes, he did.
You got Lil Baby, the Baby, Baby King, Babyface Ray. You got the Baby from Cashmere. You got a bunch of babies, right?
He made it possible.
So we got to do the album called Babies.
Baby.
That's gonna be the album. I just need 2-3% for like just putting it together. That's all I'm saying. Like we gonna do this album. We got to do some songs with these cat. You know what I mean? But you got the new album, right? And I want to say something. I got to say this before we get started.
This episode of $1 Million Worth of Game is brought to you by New Amsterdam Vodka. Now, life not going your way.
Shout out to New Amsterdam Vodka.
Caught your woman cheating today.
Shout out to New Amsterdam Vodka.
Hey, you thought that paycheck was coming to your bank account and it didn't come your way?
Shout out to New Amsterdam Vodka.
Yeah, it's distilled 5 times. It's filtered 3 times. If you speak Spanish, that's uno, dos, tres. For a clean, crisp finish. You hear me? You could drink it straight up. You could drink it on the rocks. Or, juice, soda. Or you could make a classic New Amsterdam Mule. And it's great for pre-gaming as well. So, you got the football season is coming. You got sports right now. You got basketballs coming back. So when you out and about at your local liquor store, or you online, make sure you order you up some New Amsterdam Vodka, the official vodka of Barstool Sports and the presenting sponsor of $1 Million Worth of Game. Shout out to the New Amsterdam Queen. Be at the house doing the cocktails with the girlfriends, living it up, man. So shout out to the guy. He just bought us a whole truckload of New Amsterdam vodka.
Listen, it was a moment in my life where as though I was beefing with you. I didn't know you, but I was beefing with you because I had an issue. And the issue was this. I used to use your music to set it off. Your music was mood music to me. I'm coming up. I had the basement hooked up. I had all the color lights, red, blue, green, purple.
A basement warrior.
I was a basement warrior. You know what I mean? You know what that is, a dude that just live in the basement. You know what I mean? So I would bring the ladies down there. I had this couch, you know what I mean? My homeboy, mom was going to throw it away. I got it, threw it in the basement, hooked it up. I got the couch, and I would play your music. I'll play your music and put a different color light on. Do you know it didn't close the deal? I thought your music was deal closing music to where as though you're going to get some action. I played your music 15 to 20 times, and I had it set up, and I ain't get no ass. It was like, and I'm like, damn. Like,
it wasn't the music. It was you, brother.
No, what happened? What do you think went wrong?
Because let me ask you this. Was there any other music that you played where the deal happened?
No, I was just setting it off. Basically, most of my losses came from. I didn't play no.
Well, it sounds basically like no music. It wasn't the music. It wasn't the music.
No, okay,
it was
I see what y'all trying to say.
They get there and they didn't like you. They didn't like the smell of that goddamn basement.
No, I used to
smell
spray
like the Eagles locker room after the Monday night game.
I used to have some Muslim incense and stuff down. I used to have some incense down there. It was nice. It was cool. The couch was a little rough, but the scenery. I'm like, damn, I got Babyface on. I'm young, so it's like I got a baby face.
You got a red light, so you can't see all the roaches.
Yeah, I throw a little acapella on some of the joints. So it was just crazy. But I see you got, the new album coming out, Girls Night. You got Ari Lennox, Alan May, you know what I mean, Kalani, Queen Naja, 7th Streeter. What came about to the album? Why?
The album idea came up after I did Versus.
Okay.
So Versus was, it was just so powerful. I went from like 300,000 followers on Instagram up to 1 million overnight.
Damn.
And it was like, and then I remember going to I went to Walgreens or something like that, and then young girl said she saw it and said she was a fan. She didn't know my stuff before that, but she was a fan.
Yeah.
So I just realized I started reaching a younger crowd, and I thought I should start trying to do music that also touches them as well.
So the verses, I really appreciate the verses, just for like commending the legends.
Shout out to Swiss Beats.
You know
and
what I
Timber.
mean? Shout out to Swiss Beats and Tim, because it really, every time they do one of them verses, it just take people back to a time that was a great time in their life. You know what I mean? Or they was going through something, and the music is so memorable that you forget, like, you be sitting there like, God damn, I forgot Babyface had all of these records.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just a reminder to how great you was and how great these artists are when they do these verses, man. So I just commend them for even coming up with verses, because we went through some trials and tribulations through COVID. But one of the best things that came out of COVID was verses.
Yes, I agree.
And it gave you a chance to remember how many, you had some live fans out there. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of times, artists, they be just going into their life and they forget that people, like, it's a abandoned audience out there that's like, they still like, please, like, where you at? We want to see you. We want to hear from you. They really be like, because you'll see people still playing your old stuff like, damn, I wish you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they still be holding on because they don't have nobody to service them based off of the type of music they grew up listening to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so they miss you, you know what I mean? You got certain artists, they didn't even know they was there, like him. They didn't even know he had music out back in the day. Like, nobody knew, like, he had music. So people are saying, like, hey, you the guy from Instagram. They don't know nothing about no music. They're not going to say, oh, we miss you. Do an album, do a song. They never going to say that he was a bar.
I got people that miss me. I don't know
anybody miss you. You was doing shows in bars for drinks. Come on, man. Come on, don't try to lie. He's a legend. He performed in front of arenas and stuff like that, like a real live. He's a real performer. This dude's an entertainer, a star. You're not. You know what I mean? You're not even in the cloud. You know what I'm saying? You might be a fly, like flying around or something like that. You're not no star. But like, how do it go? You get in the game. You wrote for everybody. I'm talking about everybody from Madonna, Beyonce, Usher, Whitney. Who was the greatest person? Who was the greatest moment that you can remember creating in the studio with somebody that you work with? Who was that person?
Greatest. That's hard to say, because it's like, I have been in with a lot of great artists, and Stevie Wonder to Whitney. So it's probably lean towards those that aren't here anymore. Mm-hmm. That you think of more. So I think of Whitney a lot. In the early days and working with her, and we always had a good time. It was a lot of fun. She was silly. She was incredible in terms of just get behind that mic and just sound like Whitney. Mm-hmm. And then also working with Aretha Franklin, going from Whitney to Aretha Franklin, who's like, I call the greatest singers in the world ever, And so for me to be able to be behind the mic or be behind the board and telling them how to sing or what to sing, that was, I pinched myself each time just thinking that I was even there doing it.
Who has the greatest voice that you ever heard? I would have to say, for me, I would have to say Whitney Houston, without a doubt.
I was on with Whitney, but I'd have to go with Aretha Franklin.
Okay.
You listen to early Aretha Franklin, nobody could do what she does, and I had the passion that she had, and to sit at the piano and play what she plays, and people don't. I don't think people really realized how much talent she had in her, and how much she could move you. If the best way would be if you had to put either those, anybody in the church, and you sit down at the piano and sing, you put Aretha there, no one's gonna touch that. And I don't think there's any singer alive that would ever say that they would outdo Aretha. So Whitney as well. Whitney had her thing, and she was it. So I give Whitney number 2 for me.
What about as far as, other than yourself, as far as talent-wise, when you go playing instruments, writing music, performing music?
As an artist?
As an artist, yeah. But also they might do everything, you know what I mean?
Who's the baddest?
Yes.
Who do I think is the baddest? It's Prince.
And why was that?
Because Prince could play everything. He could he recorded everything himself. He didn't need anybody to do it. He could go from rock to R&B to alternative. He was just a hell of a musician. Sometimes you have people that are just stars.
Yeah.
And but when you're just talking about talent and the ability to do something, it's hard to, you can't really compete with Prince on that. That's impossible. There used to always be the argument about who is it between Prince and Michael Jackson. Two different things.
Right.
You can't. It's apples and oranges. You can't really.
Because Prince done everything.
Because Prince did everything, and but that doesn't make him better because he does everything.
Okay.
Michael Jackson. The thing about Michael Jackson, and I knew Michael as well, but he had, besides his music, there was something magical about him, and something magical that lasts forever. Because to this day, kids when they see a Michael Jackson video, he picks up new fans. That doesn't happen to very many artists at this point. We're fans. We keep on picking fans every generation.
Right.
So, and that's where Michael was special. Michael always wanted to be like they called himself the king of pop, and it always bothered him when they called Elvis Presley the king of rock and roll or whatever, but because it was kind of like everything. But Michael, he went beyond Elvis. Yeah. Because he didn't just have the adults, he had the kids, and kept getting kids to the adults. He had every fan, everybody at every age group, and that's not easily done. I don't know who else does that, has a fan at every age group.
You and Mike was close?
I wouldn't say close. I definitely spent some time with them.
You got a story about you and Mike that nobody ever heard?
Oh no, I've told Michael's story so many times.
Well, they didn't hear him on this platform.
I mean, I met Michael when he was, I guess we were both 14 years old. Yeah. I figured out how to meet him because I was such a big fan, and I wanted to meet them so bad that I called. I figured out this thing where I could. I saw they were coming to the show, coming to Indianapolis. That's where I'm from, and so I looked in the newspaper and to see who the promoter was. The promoter's name was Charles Williams, and so I looked up in the phone book, looked up every Charles Williams, and found Charles Williams' number. And then I called him, and I pretended to be my journalist teacher, Mr. Clayton, and I used to have I used to do this impersonation of Jimmy Stewart, the actor Jimmy Stewart, and that was my adult voice. And so I called Charles and used that voice, and I said, "My name is Mr. Clayton from West Lane Junior High School, and I'd love to see if I could. You have some band coming in town, the Jackson something. I don't know. He goes to the Jackson 5." And I said, "Yes, that's the guy." So I had this idea. My students wanted to interview them. Would it be okay if one of my students interviewed them? He said, "That's a great idea. Let me try to reach out for the Jackson 5 and see if that can happen." And he said, "Let me get it. Can I get a number that I can call you back, Mr. Clayton?" I said, "No, don't call me back. I'm going to give you Kenny Edmonds' phone number. You can call him, and Kenny can set the whole thing up." And that's how it happened.
And so you get down there, you meet them.
I get down there, I meet them. I'm trying to think. I'm going to ask the coolest questions, the questions they ain't never asked. They've never heard before. And I froze up and asked him what his favorite color was and stuff like that because I couldn't think of anything. I was in such awe because when I walked inside the room, they were inside just a hotel room, double beds in there. Jermaine and Jackie were on the first bed, and then Marlon and Tito, and then Michael was sitting in the corner. And I went straight up to Michael and said hello, and he said hello to me and asked me. He didn't have his voice wasn't as high as that point. And then he asked me what who I was doing the interview for. And I just told him it was like my high school. And he thought I was in college, and I don't know why I thought that because I had a letter jacket from my brothers. So, but it was weird because it was like he was very, very shy. I was very shy myself, but he was extremely shy at that point. And so we didn't talk very much. I took a picture of it, and a little Polaroid of it. And then when I got home and went on the bus the next day and showed the picture, the girls went crazy and the picture got tore up.
So were you singing then?
Let me see. Yeah, I was in little bands then at the point.
Little bands around the neighborhood and stuff.
Yeah. I had a bunch of groups.
Well, what was the first group?
First group was Indy 5.
Indy 5?
The Indy 5, yeah.
Because you sang better than I just was singing at that time?
I think so. Probably.
Oh,
Because you're from Indiana.
Right.
So
Shout out to Naptown. You got Mike Epps.
Gary, Indiana?
No, Gary, Indiana. Oh, you said Gary,
No. I'm
Indianapolis.
from Indianapolis, yeah.
You got Mike Epps. You got Coach K.
Yeah.
People down, from
Vivica
here.
Fox.
Vivica Fox.
Yeah.
Bunch of people from Indianapolis.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But go ahead. So you say you had what you were saying about Indy 5.
That was like the first group, Indy 5, and then
Then where you go from there?
what was it next? It was Gemini 8.
Gemini 8.
You were just naming all these names. You just had a bunch of different joints, huh?
He was trying to find it. Listen, he was trying to find his way till he ran into Boosie Collins. And he said, "Nigga, you look young. You're Babyface."
Exactly.
Now, it's an interesting question. Why would R&B never die? Because a lot of people would say, "Oh, it ain't this, it ain't that no more. It's dead." I think even he said it was dead one time. But go ahead.
I don't know how it could ever die.
Okay.
And it depends on what are you calling R&B?
What is R&B? Define that for me.
It's rhythm and blues. It's rhythm and it's a you can hear it, you can feel it. Everybody does R&B, no matter. Like when I hear that question about R&B is dead, you got Kehlani that's out there, selling out everywhere, doing R&B music, and by the way, doesn't really hit the charts, but her stuff streams like crazy, and she's selling out places.
Yeah, I just was at a show in Philly.
Yeah, and so and I love Kehlani, and
shout out to David Lee, her manager, David Ali, her manager.
Oh, it's cool.
Yes. So you're saying she's selling out, she's doing her thing.
So you got Kehlani, you have Summer Walker, you got SZA, you got R&B that's alive and well, and a lot of young artists that are still doing R&B. It's different than the way we were doing it then, but all music changes over the years, and it's not always exactly how we remember it. The R&B music that we were doing in the 90s wasn't the same as what Teddy Pendergrass and the Temptations were doing. It changes.
Absolutely.
So it changes its form to a certain extent. So I think as it relates to the charts, there's always question with that between what is pop and what isn't.
Yeah.
And that's when I said it's dead. I'm talking about as far as how the record companies look at it as far as selling and charting, and the music is great though.
They have traditionally done that always. Like I remember years ago, Dick Griffey told me, who was head of
Solar Records.
Solar Records,
Sound
yeah.
of Los Angeles.
So he was on the board of the RIAA, and
tell these guys what the RIAA is for they don't understand.
It's the recording. I forget the even.
But it's a
recording industry association
of America,
American Association. So I think that's right.
Yeah, but it's
don't quote me on it. But bottom line is, they would kind of look at all the records and everything that was coming out, and they try to label what things were. Well, initially, when Michael Jackson came out with "Off the Wall," it was R&B. But when it started selling more than
R&B,
they try to take it from R&B and put it in the pop.
Then suddenly he became pop. And you didn't want to, and people think that being labeled R&B is a bad thing because they make R&B seem like it's secondary to pop. Because if it sells more, then it can't be R&B. But in all reality, it is this. It sounds the same, feels the same. It's still R&B. When you have artists that even like Justin Bieber that are doing very R&B records, it's not pop. It's R&B.
Right. And why do you think the companies did that?
To take it away from us. To take that thing that we created and say, no, in order for you to go so far, it got to be this. It can't be y'all thing.
This episode of $1 Million Worth of Game is brought to you by Dollaz. Now manage your music business all in one place with Dollaz. Dollaz is the worldwide music distribution for independent artists and labels made easy. I'm talking about Dollaz offers unparalleled control over your music catalog. With Dollaz, you can release your music to all major platforms as often as you want, whenever you want. Dollaz also makes collaborating easy. You can seamlessly add payment splits to each release and automatically pay you and your team and your collaborators. So it makes payments easy. Monetize your music in over 250 plus stores and service. Every week, Dollaz will be giving $100 cash to 5 random new artists who sign up with the link in the YouTube description. Take control of your music right now at Dollaz.com. Take control of your music right now at Dollaz.com. Right.
I think that part of the thing is it's just a labeling period. When you label something pop or label it R&B, it's one of those things where it's always been an issue that's always been there, and I just think that if something is R&B, you say it's R&B no matter what, whether there's a white artist performing it or not, and you keep it, you call it put it in its genre for what it feels like. I think that you just get in trouble whenever you try to categorize what something is and what something feels like, because then that becomes subjective.
So what white artist was considered R&B?
John B. Robin Thicke.
Okay, Robin Thicke. Okay.
Way back in the day, Bobby Caldwell.
Okay.
Certain artists, Tina Marie.
Tina Marie for sure.
But who could say that? How can you say that some of the things that Justin Timberlake was doing wasn't
gotta be R&B? Cry me a river. That's R&B right there.
The feeling what that is. How can you say that isn't?
Yeah.
Right.
Being produced by Timberland.
Right.
Come on. That's. But it's called pop because it sells a lot.
Oh.
I think the whole idea of pop is popular.
Well, yeah.
So the more it sells, then they.
Okay.
But you take it out
So
of it.
you R&B till you hit 4 million. Then this shit ain't R&B no more. This is pop.
We got to protect. As we goes on forward, we got to protect R&B. That's our shit. That's ours.
Right, because right now I see Puff. I
realize
see
what you're
everybody
saying.
online saying R&B is dead. And
No, they saying it's not dead. R&B is popping. Puff didn't say that. He didn't say it was dead.
I did see them say what they were saying. R&B was
not.
All right.
Not dead.
Okay.
It's back. Like it's back. They saying.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is we got to protect R&B from what he's saying, because they try to take it out and say, oh no, they can't do that. That's some shit we created. That's our music. We gonna be. I'm just saying, like, and I'm saying it, not you saying it, baby. I'm just saying it, like, we created this, but as soon as it goes a certain level, oh no, it's not there. It's that. No, that's our stuff. We got to protect R&B. How about that?
I think it if it was R&B to begin with, if it was R&B at
the beginning
at $500,000, then it's R&B at 10 million.
Yeah.
Say no more.
No matter who does it. Period.
But they try to say it crosses over because it sold so many records.
I think ultimately, look, it's interesting because in the 90s, that's where the argument could be, because in the 90s it was the R&B was as much pop records as well. Whip Appeal was a top 10 pop record on the Hot 100. Normally, I think that's just pure R&B.
Yes,
but it was on the top 100. So in the top 10. So and there were a lot of records, but all of the Bobby Brown stuff I did, and all the songs that I wrote back in the day, they were all going at the Hot top 10 as well. So it was easier to get there at that point. It wasn't as divided.
Right.
And I think that as we kind of keep creating genres, like the whole movement of hip hop, I think that helped them split it up as well, because then there was rap, and then hip hop just started to kind of come in, and then it started becoming more. There was more singing with it, so that became the new R&B, so to say. So you either got to pick one, whether is it hip hop, or because they don't put R&B, and they put R&B and hip hop against each other in terms of like that, and then they won't put those in the pop in the pop genre either. So it all gets like just kind of
You get crazy.
mixed up, you know.
What's the biggest song you've written to date?
The biggest song I've written to date. I think. I mean, one of the ones would probably be "End of the Road." You know,
Boys the
What's the
Man.
Philly.
Shout out to Philly. Yes, right. He got them Philly boys popping too.
Yeah, that was the biggest one.
Yeah,
It's
that's so. Yeah, that one.
That sold a bunch. This episode of $1 Million Worth of Game is brought to you by Whatnot. Whatnot is a live stream auction app where you can buy collectibles like sports cards, Pokemon cards, comics, to things like sneakers, and really almost anything. I'm talking about anything else. Sellers host live streams and people bid back and forth for items in real time. There are live streams 24/7. And now Barstool is on Whatnot. I'm talking about they Whatnot newest seller. I'm talking about they want a Whatnot newest seller is Barstool Sports right here where we at. And now we're also going live twice a week on Whatnot, running live shows and selling never before seen auction items and Whatnot exclusive. I'm talking about this is what we do on Barstool. We're doing this. Download the Whatnot app and follow the Barstool Sports account at Barstool Sports, so you'll be the first to get notified when we go live. Use the link in the description to get $10 off your first purchase or Whatnot. $10 off your first purchase. What are you waiting for? Whatnot, Barstool Sports. Now, let me ask you this. LaFace Records, right? Because, you know, you have thing out here with artists, right? A lot of artists be want to know about advances and getting into the music game, right? Outkast is some of the biggest artists in the history when it comes to our music, right?
Yeah.
They got a low advance. They got a nice couple dollars for advance to get in. If you talking to artists, right, and advice that you get to these artists, because you got a lot of talented artists, but some of them miss their moment because they won't sign or they think, oh, I need this large amount. What is your advice to artists when it comes to advances and signing a record deal?
I'd say that today. It's hard. That's a really hard question to answer now because it's so different today. In some cases, artists don't need the labels as much because you actually can, you know, you don't depend on the charts the same way. Your streaming is like. At this point, for artists that kind of like Drake just announced he's putting the album out. Used to have to take months to let somebody know.
Right.
Now you can just say, "Hey, I'm putting them album out tomorrow," and then everybody's there. You're selling them right there. Streaming is immediate. You used to have the label to do that. You don't need the label to do that anymore.
You needed the label to become a star back in the day.
Completely. And in some cases, you still do today.
To become a star.
Yes, in some cases. But then in some cases not, because, you know, just through social media alone. And if you get you got something going, you can build it perhaps by yourself and not really need the traditional things that the labels do. And the whole thing is, you know, when you get an advance, you got to pay that back. So the bigger advance you get, then.
And I think the knowledge of the game today is so far advanced from back then. Like back then, a lot of the older guys, they had to take crumbs back then. They didn't know the game. They couldn't go to Google. They couldn't just, you know what I mean? So it was just like either you had somebody good on your team that knew what they were doing, or you went through the ringer. Am I pretty much right?
I think so. But what happened was that. I think what really started changing the game is when hip hop changed the game. They changed the game in the sense of that they started to figure out how to make money beyond the music. And so where you have, you know, Puff and you have Jay-Z, and to where they took what they were doing and took it outside of the music.
Brand deals, clothing lines, and vodka, liquor. Rihanna,
and, you know, so and Beyonce, they started taking it places where R&B artists wouldn't do the same. Even the big pop artists weren't doing the same. They really start saying like, okay, I'm out to make some money. I'm gonna figure out how to make some money, and they became bigger than their music. And I think that there was the difference. And a lot of artists, younger artists today, they don't need the record companies as much. They don't have to go to them for advances because they may get all these kind of deals separate from them because of the internet, because of streaming and everything. They're in a different position. So if you're a star and your brand is hot, it can be a whole different game for you. So it is as much about being a star as it is about even just the music alone. At this point, there are a lot of great artists that just are great artists, and they have to depend on going out on the road to make a living, and hopefully people will still go out there and see them and still support them. It's just one of those things where I saw everything change when I was watching these kids to me at the time just coming in and owning it and changing the game, not just expecting what the labels were giving us and telling us what we could make or what we couldn't make. They came in and said, "No, that's not going to work for me," and they started changing the game there. So,
do you think how important is publishing?
Very important.
Like important to what because you get your deal, you might get an advance over here, but you still got the publishing right here, the administrative deal or the publishing itself. If you don't sign it away, how important is retaining your publishing?
If you can hold on to your publishing, that's everything. There's always deals, and the deals have changed now where people don't give away their publishing as much. But initially, back in the day, you signed to a label, certain labels, the publishing was like you had to give it up just to even be
just to get signed, just
to
even get an opportunity,
or
at least 50%. And some labels, I won't say names, they took 100%. So the game has changed today.
So that basically put the artist solely in. I got to do shows in order to eat, or I got to sell a lot of records.
Sell a lot of records, and some were able to keep their writers, and that's and some weren't. Holding your publishing is the most important thing that you can do, especially if you're a great writer. And you're a prolific writer, and you write for a lot of people, not just yourself, but also other people. Right. And because you can make a living with that.
Because all the documentaries that you ever see from the OGs, they all got the same story, man. They all was super talented. They all was selling a shitload of records, and they all was getting robbed.
That's the case, and that would not just be. That wasn't just on publishing or record companies. A lot of times that would be managers and accountants and people that were in the game.
So that was everybody was out to steal.
Did you ever have a bad experience in the game? Like growing up and coming into the game, did you ever have like a bad experience?
We went through a lot of things. Just starting off with, having to give away the publishing in the beginning, signing to a label.
So how much publishing did you have to give away in the beginning?
50%.
Damn.
Or, when you sign to a label, it was like.
So Whip Appeal, is that 50%?
That was, it's no longer now, but it initially, that was part of the thing. I think that came, trying to think, because when I did that, was I off of Solar? I was still with Solar. Can't remember at this particular point. Mm-hmm. But there were early songs when you sign up to. When you sign up to a label, then you had to. That was part of the deal. You gave up 50%. They had 50% of the publishing. You still had some of your publishing, but they had 50%. So, which basically comes down to, you had 75 cents out of the dollar. So they had 25 cents, and that was something that you didn't even get an advance for. In most cases with a publishing company, they'll give you an advance for it. And today, depending on what kind of advance you can get, if you can get something really, really good, then it might make sense.
You talking about advance on the publishing?
Yes.
Shout out to Ryan Press, Big John Platinum. Shout out to them. publishing guys, but I want to ask you a question also. If me, you, and Gil, right, we sitting right here, we create a record. I do the beat, which would be the sound. I do the beat, and y'all two write. How do the publishing get broken down?
You get 50% off the top.
No, I'm asking him, not you.
Well, I'm telling you, it's the same shit he's going to answer.
No, the only reason I'm saying that because you never got no publishing money. But go ahead.
So, there's no. It doesn't mean that you get 50% because you did the drums. Okay. If all three of us are in the room, legally I could claim whatever equal percentage.
But usually in today's climate, if you do the beat, you get 50% of the publishing off the top.
If that's what you agree.
If that's what you agree. So we can agree with anything in the room.
So the point is, a lot of times what people that write all the time, if they go in a room together, they say, okay, let's just split equally because at some point somebody's going to do more and somebody's going to do less.
Right.
So those are people that kind of work together on a consistent basis. The beat, someone can argue that, okay, you created the beat, but that's not the most catchy part of the song. That's not the part that sold the song. Could be the hook, could be the melody. So what's to say that your beat is more important than what I just did, what I put on top of it? It wouldn't mean anything without what I put on top of it. So I'm not gonna go with letting the beat be the main thing.
So if we could say we get 33 in the third. If we doing it all the time, we going in there working for. We like, yo, we gonna bust it down this way.
Yeah.
Do the artists get say if we just write it? Do the artists get a percentage too?
In some cases, the artist, depending on how large that artist is, they could say, "Oh, I want a piece of it." That happens.
Even though they didn't write nothing.
Even though they didn't write anything.
Even they have nothing to do with this song being a hit record.
But in some cases, if it's that kind of artist that is going to help sell that record, then I'm going to give up a percentage.
You're like, yeah, hell yeah.
It's like, you want a piece of this and you're going to support it, I'll give up. It makes more sense to give up a piece of it rather than to just say, I'm going to hold on to this and put it on somebody where it don't work.
Right.
So you have to figure out, it's a song by song basis.
All right, so when is the most important part of this music thing is the publishing or the masters?
I think the masters are important too, but the publishing is what there's a whole lot more formats where the publishing goes, because it goes in streaming. If it plays on TV shows, if it plays on the masters, the publishing exists even when someone else redoes the song, does the song over.
Still get publishing.
Remake of it, still get publishing of it. Masters don't have anything to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
So the publishing lives forever. The masters are only for that performance.
So the masters only matter if you're hot, right?
If you're hot, or if you could be, the masters could be great for an artist that, years later that you still find or something, but it's still, once again, the publishing means that can be a lifetime of, making money.
And I be hearing people be like, a lot of companies be coming trying to buy publishing. If they come to buy your publishing, how do they evaluate your publishing? They say, hey, Babyface, we want to buy your publishing.
They evaluate it by looking how much it makes and how many times it's played on, whether it's still on radio or how much it streams, how many times it gets played on, whether it's TV shows or it gets picked up. There's a way to look at it and see what kind of money it generates per year, and they kind of do that by a multiple.
What's the multiple?
It can vary. Okay. It can vary from 10 times to 20 times. It varies. There's no set number.
I know they stay coming at you. They stay offers.
Well, there's no. I mean, they're always looking at it, and they come at, and a lot of people have been selling because they've been coming out with really, big multiples. And they're doing that because where everybody was scared of streaming before, and what it potentially meant for the writers and for people that are publishing. You thought that you weren't going to get paid, but in fact, it's turning out to be a better thing than that. And so the future of publishing still looks great. And so It's not like that's. So they're banking on the fact that it's going to get better. So if you sell today, you're still taking the chance that you could have maybe made more later. So you have to figure that out. With some people, like the Bruce Springsteens, and they when they cashing in for what they get,
they cashing in.
You know,
shit.
Well, I got now by you telling me that it even could be 5. So let's say that's 5,000, 10,000. So if I give you this, and this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give you a multiple of 20 on your joint. So I'm gonna give you $10,000 for your
Get the hell out.
Because I've got it at $500. $500 I was going. So like it only make like $500 a year. So if I give you 10,000, that's a multiple of 20. That's why I was trying to figure it out. Because I made you an offer, you was like, no, they didn't. So I give you 10,000 cash. I give you cash. Matter of fact, I throw another 1,000. I give you 11,000 cash money. Just sign it. Give me your publisher.
See what you done did.
I just wanted to know because I'm like, hold up, I'm gonna buy his stuff. This episode of $1 Million Worth of Game is brought to you by National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. You're hanging out with some friends, putting back a few drinks. A few became a few too many. And as the evening come to an end, people start to head out. You think calling for a ride? No. You live nearby, so you can make it home. No. And it's no big deal. To you, you thinking it's no big deal. It is a big deal.
It is.
We are at the odds. What are the odds? You'll get pulled over. And I'm talking about anyway, you're going to get pulled over. Even so, what's the worst that can happen? Your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you lose your job, you total your car, or you kill somebody.
And that's the worst.
That's the worst thing that can happen. You know, everyone knows about the risk of driving drunk. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers out there right now looking for impaired drivers on the road to save lives. That's what they did, to try to save lives. So if you think you're okay after, to drive after a few drinks, think again. Play it safe, plan ahead, get a ride. Only take one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. This is sponsored by National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Now, let me ask you a question. And Whip Appeal, right?
Yes, sir.
No, I know how to ask when I go for people publishing because I want to start buying publishing. Now, Whip Appeal, who was you talking to? Who was that girl? Who was the woman?
No. Who was you talking to? No, I'm never keeping secrets and I'm never telling lies.
And did you keep a secret?
I want to make it up to you. Who was you talking to on that song?
Nobody.
Oh, man, I thought he was talking to
I mean, I didn't talk to nobody on Whip Appeal. Whip Appeal was something that, a word I heard Pebble say. And when she said that, I said, oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to go write that.
And what did she say? Like, but in the conversation, she was talking about Whip Appeal.
Well, I don't even say I said that's a good idea. I'm going to go write that. I just thought in my head, that's a good idea. And when I wrote it, but I gave her
Pebble was
credit.
like, I put that Whip Appeal on his ass last night. He said,
oh.
She wasn't talking about me. Let's get that clear.
Have it ever been a situation?
I ain't trying to clean it up because I don't get whipped. I whip that.
Has it ever been a situation where you ran into a Whip Appeal effect where it happened to you? Like, oh shit, she put the Whip Appeal on. Was it ever a moment in your life?
A moment in my life? Nah, I never thought of it that way.
You ain't thinking it that way,
Well,
but
was it actually that?
Did it feel that?
it happened. He like, that shit happened though.
I'm gonna have to think about that.
That was a smooth answer.
Because I could imagine some of the relationships he had. Did you ever felt like a relationship you was in was going to be forever, and then it was like, and you kind of was like, damn, I thought this was going to be forever.
You always think something's gonna be forever in the beginning.
Everything.
That's life.
And
then it's not forever. Then you think the next one. I don't know that I put a forever on anything at this particular point. You do the best you can do.
Well, see, because for me, I knew a few of them was just for the night. I
understand.
I knew they wasn't for life. They was for the night.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that everything was. I'm not on that page.
Not on that page.
Now, if I'm a young guy out there and I want to take a lovely young lady on a date, what advice would you have for me? If I'm a young guy watching this and I'm trying to impress a woman and I want to be a gentleman, I want to be smooth about it too.
Be smooth?
Yeah. Where should I take her? Where should I get her? Should I bring a gift?
You take her where she wants to go first.
Mm-hmm.
And and you have conversation and you listen.
See, listen.
No, shut up. You need to
Big
listen.
part. That's a big part.
And what else?
Well, look, I'm not by any means an expert, so I can only
Shit, you Babyface, man.
no, I can
My
only
expert.
the whole idea. I'm always asked this question. How do I write songs for women, and how have I been able to write these songs? When I was growing up, I was like, I didn't have a bunch of girlfriends. I didn't have any of that because I was completely shy. I didn't know what to say. I had no idea what anything was. When I first started to get a French kiss, I didn't know it was actually happening, and then I thought she was just sticking her tongue out at me, and so I lost that French kiss, and so I didn't know anything, but I would like kind of fall in love and get my heart broke because they wasn't really interested in me. So I was like writing songs. I was writing sad songs in 8th grade, from 8th grade on, sad ass songs, and they were like. So I kind of knew what it felt like to be hurt, and so the reality is that we're no different than women in terms of when you get hurt, it hurts. And so I just I would write down how that would feel, and it wouldn't be any different. So I just started looking at it from the perspective, if they were getting hurt the same way that I felt, then I could kind of tell how it was. And you kind of write from that perspective.
And
He turned
that was legend.
He turned some 8th grade hurt into some platinum records, man.
now, when you say about the date, you say listen to her and take her where she want to go. Do you straight ask her like where you want to go? Are you surprised and do something magical stuff?
Well, like I said, there's no magic answer because like she also might say, I want you to take me somewhere where you want to go. I want to see what you do. I want to see whether you know me. Or she might want something exciting. She might want something slow.
She might just want to go on a walk.
It's hard to say. It's different with each person. You have to figure out the person.
But what is the greatest date you ever took a woman on? Was it a date that just was out of this world? It had to be one.
Nah, see, y'all trying to make me like Superman
Because you Babyface, like
that's what we was thinking. I was thinking like this.
Like
dude,
we see him talking to Babyface, he was like, I didn't have no girls. We like, wait, hold on, fuck, you lying? Like, you got to be telling the story. You Babyface.
Yeah.
Nah, y'all can get disappointed thoroughly there because in order to be a writer, and when you're writing songs about pain and stuff like that, that's not going to be the dude that's getting all the girls. He is not going to be writing those kind of songs.
Well, you might could have got all the girls. You just might just been, sensitive. I'm a little emotional. They do the wrong thing. I write about them.
I think the guys that get all the girls are going to be writing songs more about sex than about love.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a deep joint.
And so I wrote more about love than I wrote about sex. Whip Appeal is probably the only song that I wrote about sex and wasn't even about me. It's because somebody said it. Yeah. But most of the time it was really just about love. So, and I think that some things can feel sexy, but it's not necessarily, that's not what it's about.
That's not the point, yeah.
But I'm going to say this, though. You remixed Whip Appeal.
Yeah.
It was a remix.
For the new album.
For the new album. We're going to give y'all a little snippet of it here, right? We're going to let y'all hear a little bit of this. Who was that?
That was Tink.
That was Tink. Listen,
who's all featured on this record right here?
That was I'm on that record with her and Tink, and that's worked with Dizzy, the producer.
Okay,
so it's great.
And like it's just magical. Is you going to be shooting visuals? Is you going to be shooting visuals for this album?
We've done a video already for the Keeps On Falling with LMA. That's coming out actually next Wednesday.
Okay, that's just great, man. That's what it's about.
That's beautiful, man. So y'all be looking for the legend.
For the legend.
New album. That's updated, man. You got Queen Naja, you said?
You got Queen Naja. Also another record's out right now, Seamless with Kehlani. And there's you got to go through the names because I keep on forgetting.
You got Ari Lennox.
We got Ari.
You got
Lennox,
7th Streeter.
7th Streeter.
You got Queen Naja. She was on $1 Million Worth of Game. You know what I mean?
She was. Shout out to the Queen.
You got all them. You know what I mean?
Our Queen was on it. That's
Yeah.
good.
She was here. Yeah, Queen was cool.
How was it working with the younger people and the energy and the vibes? How was it?
They were good. Everybody kind of knows.
Was it a difference though? Like, was
Yeah.
it like from how you do it and then how it is now? You know, how you was coming up to how it is now. Is it like, was it like a culture shock? Like, oh, like different?
I think the difference is that the girls today seem more sure of themselves about who they are.
Okay.
What they want to say and what they ain't gonna say. Whereas before, you kind of could write whatever you would. I just write the songs and give it to them. I wrote the songs on this project. I wrote the songs with them, so it wasn't like Excel where I wrote everything and just handed it to them. This song I wrote it with them, and I had to,
Right?
because they look at things differently.
And you needed an up to date feel.
I needed, and not just up to date, but just who they are.
Right.
Because I didn't know who they are.
Right.
I didn't know how they would be thinking or feeling, and they say things in a different way.
Right.
That's the change in where R&B has changed. How you say what you say.
And when I say up to date, that's what I mean. Like
Yeah.
with the language.
It's the language. It's the culture
delivery.
of it. Right. The delivery, but the culture of it. Because like women are stronger today than they were before. They ain't looking for the guy to come sweep them off their feet.
Right.
The same way.
They like, we make our own money.
No, it's like, yeah. So it's like, it's a different day there, and I think it's great because I think they're stronger because of it, and so it made it enjoyable for me to kind of be around that and be around that kind of energy. I think that the day of like I said this before, but the day of people wanting to be the biggest star in the world is not, everybody's not that way at this point. Everybody kind of like when they'll get their crowd and they stick with it. They feel good with it. They can make their living and do good. No one's wanted, like Michael Jackson, he always wanted to be the biggest artist in the world.
Right.
I don't see a lot of that.
I see people just wanting to stay in their pocket.
Yeah.
They're like, listen, if I can get my pocket of people that love me and I could go and do my shows and I could feed my family, I'm comfortable with that.
Exactly.
And people really, once they get to that point, they not really trying to elevate to the next level. They like, listen, I hit my 20 cities up that love me. I get my money. I
they make
feed
their
my
living.
people.
Yeah.
I make my living. And because it's so many more people out here in today's society that's making a living off of music than it was back then.
True.
We got kids every day now. You can go on the internet. He got a whole arena rocking, and you never heard of him.
Right.
You like,
Yep.
wait, what? I never. Then you go to his page. He got 900,000 followers. You like, I never heard of this kid in my life.
Yeah.
And then as you on his page and you're scrolling down, you're like, wait, he has arenas rocking every night.
Yes.
And I never heard of this kid.
Right.
So for today's climate, it's so much easier to become a winner in this music game, to become a winner in life. You got kids that's blowing up every day from their living room just off of content, where they making content and they content taking off and they're becoming millionaires overnight. So the climate that we live in is beautiful for the come up. You know what I mean? If you really got talent, you really can do something. You don't have to depend on record labels now. You could just go to social media and you could blow up that way.
You can blow up that way, and I think the one thing that helps with the record labels is like you get to a certain point and you can't really go beyond that. Sometimes the label can help you go all the way.
Absolutely.
It depends on if you want to go all the way.
Right.
Because that's where the difference is. That a lot of those people get there and they're like, I don't need you. I'm really making more than enough.
Because you got to start dealing with the label and the things they tell you to do.
Well, they want their piece of it. And like, why do I want to give up my piece now? Because I'm already making.
Right.
I'm doing very well here. So, and it's not important to me to be the biggest artist in the world. Right. Whereas back in the day, people, they wanted to be the biggest thing ever. Right. So
and the one person that's getting affected the most is the people who just got great music. Yeah. Because you got a lot of artists who they didn't have the personality outside of the music. They just made great music. This is all I want to do. I just want to make great music. I just want to go in the studio. I just want to record, and I just want to go play at But now the record labels aren't signing those people anymore because if you don't have some proof of concept, if I can't look at your Instagram and you don't have 50,000 followers and you only got 1,600 followers, forget the fact that your music is unbelievable. It's like, no. We going because you got to have proof of concept. You got to show us that you're doing something out here. That, you know what I mean? And a lot of kids, they don't have that personality. They just got the great music.
Right. It's record companies don't have time to develop artists anymore. That's the bottom line. They can't afford it. That's because they can't take because they can't take everything like they used to take everything.
Right.
And they can't invest in the same way that they used to invest in because there was so much game in putting out albums and putting out CDs. They don't have that. They don't have that to play with anymore.
Right.
So it's straight streaming. So they can only help so much. But for those that they do help, it works very well. So for that artist that does music, that is a very talented artist, your best route at this particular point is to try to, keep putting things out yourself and trying to make that connection. Or even you have a lot of artists that are people that are great artists in terms of writing songs that want to sing the songs themselves that aren't necessarily particular stars. Well, consider placing it on somebody that could.
You got that somebody that can make it happen.
Because that's the thing is that so many times over the years I've seen that happen where you don't want to give up your song.
Right.
And I think of that myself. If I had kept all these songs that I gave to everybody else, I wouldn't have been able to pull it off.
Right.
I get asked that all the time. Why didn't you keep Into the Road? Because I couldn't have done Into the Road.
Right. I could write Into the Road, but Into the Road was meant for Wanye.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't have Wanye'd it. So
and at the end of the day, that's when an artist got to determine whether they want light or whether they want money. A lot of them don't give the record up because they think this is going to get me the light. This is the record that's going to get me the shine, going to get me the credibility. When at the end of the day, I just want the money. For me personally. So if Beyonce come or Rihanna come or somebody come that I know can make this record go out of here, to me it's a no-brainer. I'm giving the record up.
Well, I would just say to that artist, that young writer, is that give that song up because the light will find you.
Yes.
Because if you have that talent and you can do it for many other artists, then the reality is that's a much better place to be when you can. Because I can tell you, I get just as much enjoyment if I'm doing a concert myself and singing my songs, but if I get just as much enjoyment if I go to Mary J and singing one of my songs, and seeing everybody sing along.
Absolutely.
Or whether it's Boyz II Men or whether it's Madonna or whether in any artist that I've worked with. To actually see people singing your song with that artist, and that artist is singing your song, there's nothing better than that.
And a lot of times that's how artists get in the door, because you just need the record labels to understand your talent. So a lot of times when you get a record up and they go here, that a record label, who wrote that? Now they all want a record from you. They all want the next record from you. Now you get a record label that's willing to give you a shot.
It's sometimes that's true, sometimes it's not. A lot of times it's not true, and a lot of times there have been artists that have gone in there with that intention, and there's a couple people that I've only seen it work for where they actually become artists, and like
Missy Elliott, right?
That would be Neo as well.
Neo,
and the more recent one it would be Money Long, who's written for a lot of people, and now she's finally doing it herself.
Right.
So it doesn't happen that often. But it's something that, when you got that bug, when you want to be an artist, it's hard to beat that.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
Hard to let it
go. Because he wanted to be one, he didn't get nowhere. You know what I'm saying? It was like he was chasing the thing. He was like, I could be this. I could be great. And he's like,
it was not.
It didn't go nowhere. Like, it was like, I told him, like, yo, cuz, chill, man. Write for somebody. Do something like that.
I was out here doing shows. He was in prison doing karaoke nights. So.
Yeah, I saw a couple of your songs at karaoke night in the joint, but it was, it went a little crazy there too. But I would say this: you signed, when you think about LaFace, Atlanta, y'all was doing y'all thing. I'm talking about historical record label. Y'all did unimaginable numbers. Y'all established a lot. I'm gonna say this first. One of my favorite artists y'all ever had on Atlantic Records, and one of my favorite songs ever, Nobody Knows by Tony Rich project. That was legendary to me. Now, when you look at Atlanta now, so many labels has popped up, QC, different people, but like it seemed like in Atlanta, they're more on the business side of it. Everybody, the artists, whatever 21, whatever Gucci, everybody's on some business side of it. Did you see Atlanta becoming that? Did you see that? Jermaine Dupri, Dollaz, Organized Noise. Did you see all that?
Well, when we first went there, there wasn't that. I mean, Dollaz was like a producer that was working with Motown and working with Joyce Irby, I think, and so he was like a young up and comer, and so was Jermaine, and so we were lucky that we were able to, get them early as producers with our label, because that's the whole thing of it. In any label, you can't just do it yourself. You have to depend on a number of producers and kids that are out there, doing new stuff, and with Organized Noise, because of LaFace wouldn't be
it was crazy.
Wouldn't have been LaFace without Jermaine, Dollaz, Organized Noise. That whole movement, we were able to feed off of that, and so because we came in with our own hits and our own thing, and that we had been doing, but it really took all those other ingredients to kind of help make it happen. Who would have ever thought that LaFace at the time would have come with Outkast, and Outkast would become what they became, TLC.
It had a lot
from Usher to Tony Braxton. We signed Pink.
Pink, yep.
So there's a lot of history that came with LaFace, and being the ones to start it back up, because I think in Atlanta there were labels there before. Curtis Mayfield was there way before us, and so I think that our journey there helped open up doors to where everybody that's there, they kind of it started a lot because I think LaFace started it back up again, and I think that's we're proud of that, proud to know that we were part of that, the legacy to kind of get
everything
moving,
started. And you look up 25, 30 years later, Atlanta's still running shit.
Yeah.
You running.
So that's a big compliment to you and everything that y'all had going on, and just giving them young kids opportunities, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's huge. You know what I mean? All the people that's connected, all the greatness that's connected to you and your label, and you know what I'm saying, the things that y'all was doing, that's unbelievable, man. So we just want to commend you on that,
Thank
number
you.
one. And being able to pick talent. Number two, because you picked some talented, y'all, I don't know who was the process of picking it, but y'all picked some talented people, you know what I mean, that really changed the course of music, not just, in Atlanta, I'm talking about in the world, you know what I mean? So shout out to you and everything you had going on from back then, but you got the album out now, right?
Coming out in October.
Out in October.
October 21st.
October 21st, y'all make sure y'all get tuned in. Who some of the people we got on there?
Ari Lennox, Ella May, Queen Naja, Kalani, 7th Streeter. You know what I mean? Tink is going down, man.
And one thing you can guarantee, these are going to be some really good, well-written records, because that's what he does.
Yes.
Man, we want to just commend you, man, for being a legend and, coming and sitting on the couch with us, man. We truly appreciate this. Truly appreciate
my pleasure,
it, man.
My pleasure.
Truly appreciate it. And it's just like that. Right.